Monday here at Witches of the Moon, and I am your hostess for today, Blythe. This week's topic is a topic that I had actually suggested a long, long time ago because I had my own issues with it, and that is relationships. Um, so I'm going to focus more on the dating aspect because that's where I am at right now. I was married and started looking into paganism, and he just wasn't having it, and that relationship ended for a multitude of other reasons. But because that relationship ended, I was able to look into paganism. So I'm going to focus more on the dating aspect. So to better get to know where I'm coming from, I'm 30 years old and I have two small children. I have been single for about 4 years now. Um, Pagan for about three, which really isn't that long in hindsight. And I've been trying to I started actively dating about a year ago, so it hasn't been going well. So I'm going to make a very sweeping generalization here, and this is something I actually noticed when I was younger, but it seems like men are a lot more closed off to the metaphysical world than women are. And I think 95% of the male witches I've come across are gay, which just means that they're not going to be attracted to me in the first place. So it's just not something that's going to happen. Um, can I see myself dating another pagan? I don't know. I mean, I always like to associate myself with people that are spiritual and open-minded. But I feel like sometimes there's such a competition in the pagan community as it is to, maybe that's just coming out of my own head. But for me to live with somebody who is also pagan, I'm not sure. I don't know yet. Um, I keep wanting to say no, but I think that's just some hang-ups I need to get over myself. So it's very hard to find a man that gets it or doesn't make fun of you or isn't scared. That is a big thing that I keep running. And I'm not even that scary. Compared to some people, I'm not that scary. But what happens is when I start to feel comfortable with somebody and start to talk about things, I'll talk about them. And people that don't know about this part of my life don't know that I talk about paganism and witchcraft all the time. And so when I find somebody who is not um, pagan and I feel comfortable with them, I talk about it all the time. So it's not something that they're really, really used to. Um, I had one guy that once I mentioned the word altar, I actually said altars because I had several of them. He just was like, all right, can't do it. And I told him, I said, I've been talking about it for a while. Obviously, I practice. This is not like it's not bullshit. I actually practice. And another guy seemed like he was okay with it, but he was just really obnoxious. One day I had told him that I was going to leave and go home, and he said, go ahead, the window's open, go fly on your broom. And the way he said it in a joking around manner, and I guess it was kind of funny at the time, but considering other things that had happened during that time span, it was just another obnoxious thing that he said. So how do you approach somebody and tell them, a new person you've just met, that you're a witch? Like, how do you start that conversation? What I always do is I always bring up the tarot reading because that is the easiest thing for me to do. And it always seems like I would meet somebody new around the new moon, actually, when I was still am doing my free tarot readings on my personal channel. So I kind of use that as an opener. Sorry, I gotta go do a reading, or I have to get back with a client, or whatever it may be. So to me, that was kind of an opener. And since it always was around the time I was doing them anyway, it was never a lie. And that kind of opened up the door for a lot of different things. In one aspect, you know, the guy was just like, oh, no. That's when he started getting a little, I don't know about this. And it's either that or they become interested and they want you to do a reading for themselves. So that's just kind of how it works. And I guess maybe that's just kind of either they're interested in that aspect or they're just trying to test you out. Who knows. But to be honest, I don't feel like you should hide or censor yourself at all. You know, obviously there are some things that you do in some of your relationships that you have with your deities and your spirits that you're not going to talk about because it is deeply personal. And you wouldn't talk about it with another witch either because it is personal. But I don't think that you should hide or censor yourself, especially from your partner, because that is supposed to be the person that you're with, that you're sharing your life with. How can you not be yourself with the person that you're with? Something, the way people can hide different aspects of themselves are just, it's mind boggling to me. So, so the main thing is to just to be yourself and to not lie about who you are. Kind of, I would leak things out. I always leak things out kind of slowly just to gauge reactions. And if you really want to scare them off, of course, you can say things to scare them off. It's not that hard sometimes. You just have to threaten them with bodily harm of certain body parts, and they'll generally move on. Um, so, and another thing is you can't change somebody if they're not comfortable with you or your practices. There isn't anything that you can do. Um, Dealing with family members, I'm not sure. I haven't gotten to that point where I've actually met family members of the other person. So I don't know. My own family members, I don't hide it, but I don't show it openly. I still have my pentacle on my anklet, and if you happen to see it, then so what? Deal with it. Um, so when I brought this topic up in the group, I was having issues in my own dating life, and I didn't realize that by the time this came up that the dilemma would have been solved, or solved as much as I think it can be at this point. Um, I'm very fortunate to have found somebody who accepts me and supports me for who I am, even though he has no idea what I'm talking about half the time. He does listen and will ask questions or give feedback. And he doesn't make fun of me, which is the big thing for me. He actually knew I was a witch before I even started talking to him because he's a friend of a friend type of deal. And so actually my first words to him were something along the lines of, sorry I didn't message you sooner, but I was busy sacrificing puppies and small children, which he just totally ignored and then started asking me about my own kids. Maybe he was trying to make sure I wasn't actually sacrificing children. I don't know. It was actually him who suggested that I put up the website about the tarot card readings and to start getting into them more often because it was really something I wanted to do, but I couldn't find people to practice on. So I had actually started doing them on YouTube, and it's kind of taken off from there. It is something I do every month, and I really do enjoy being able to connect with different people and help other people out. So, he isn't pagan himself, but he actually knows a lot about paganism, which helps too because there are certain things that I don't have to explain, even though sometimes he does surprise me with as much as he knows because I'm not used to talking to somebody who knows so much about paganism that isn't pagan themselves. So it is very interesting. He's actually tried to test me. What was it? He asked me what Ostara was for, like what that holiday was for. I'm just like, all right, okay. And actually, I was just recently talking to him about the Harvest Festival I volunteered at this last weekend, and I told him that it wasn't an openly pagan event, and even though it was the day before Mavon, and he's just like, why not? How many Christians have come up with how many Christian holidays are there to cover up your holidays? Why not just make it blatant? Couldn't because of the people who own the winery, but all of I think 90% of the volunteers were clearly wearing pentacles, so it was kind of obvious that, including myself, that we were all pagan. So, Yeah, and I don't know, over the past couple of months, I have told him some really, really off the wall stuff, and he is just keeps telling me that I won't scare him off, which makes me laugh every time because that is not my intention. But unfortunately, right now it is an extremely long distance thing, and the only time will tell if I end up scaring him off or not. So I hope you have a wonderful Monday and a blessed week. Have a good one.